Getting into physio was a childhood dream, I would say. I always wanted to be a medico. They walk into your clinic with pain and they walk out of the clinic with a smile.
What is the difference between physiotherapy, chiropractic, yoga, and Pilates?
Physiotherapists typically would undergo a minimum of 4.5 years of training, for a basic undergraduate degree. And then depending upon the specialty and super specialty, another 3 to 4 years. So that takes a lot of training to understand a human body, anatomy, physiology, biomechanics, movement science, recovery science. So we bring all of this knowledge into our, clinical setup. When we talk about chiropractic, I would say they are more focused on the adjustments and alignments of the joints, the spinal and the peripheral, that help to restore the movement and the function.
Can bad posture actually affect your long-term health?
As a physio mother, I find myself telling my children again and again, like 100 times in a day, please, correct your posture, correct your posture.
Sometimes when people have stiff neck, they ask somebody to assist or manipulate the joints.
Yeah.
So that is something that
No,
you don't.
No. From a untrained professional, it's not recommended at all.
Also, another thing is holding the phone and constantly looking. That is also bad posture.
Yes, neck. That is a big contributor to neck pain, back pain, headaches, and a myriad of other problems.
What are the biggest misconceptions of physiotherapy?
A lot of them, actually. So
you can list them out then.
Yes.
What if someone's not a patient but wants to improve posture, wants to improve longevity?
This is absolutely, part and parcel of what physiotherapists do. So preventive medicine.
How long or how continuously should one sit before making a movement?
In general, I would advise everybody to, get up and about after every 30 minutes of sitting.
Do you know, Sujata, many people have this misconception of strength training. They think that they need to lift really heavy weights.
Body weight is the best form of strength training, and that's a very safe way of strength training as well.
What is kinesiotaping and how does it support movement?
This was designed in order to help the body heal itself,
Okay, and tell me more about dry needling. What exactly is that?
Yeah, so dry needling is basically the use of dry needles, So the needles that we use are acupuncture needles, but the science behind acupuncture and dry needling is completely different.
What does a truly healthy body mean to you? Welcome to Million Opinions, ladies and gentlemen. In today's episode, we have Sujata Khire, who is a physiotherapist, a founder at Teach Me Health Events, Kinesiotaping Instructor, International Dry Needling Instructor, Pilates Presenter, Yoga Instructor, founder at Academy of Advanced Physio Skills. And with so many hats, I thought, yes, why not call her on the show and use her experience and expertise to answer a few questions for us. So help me welcome Sujata Khire.
Thank you very much for having me on the show.
So Sujata, tell me, what got you into physio and how are you doing all these things and also being a parent in the UAE?
Okay, I've been getting into physio was, just a childhood dream, I would say. I always wanted to be a medico in whatever way. I wanted to be helpful and be of service to other people. So that was ingrained into me, maybe. And when we were into our high school years, we just had this option of choosing biology or mathematics. And straight away, I, just chose biology. And from there, the journey started, So we sat that entrance test and I became a physio. And I would say I have not regretted a single day since that day when I graduated. I mean, the profession is so extremely rewarding, as a professional, to be able to help other people, to bring smiles onto other people's faces. They walk into your clinic with pain and they walk out of the clinic with a smile.
What is the difference between physiotherapy, chiropractic, yoga, and Pilates?
Okay. So let's talk about physiotherapy and chiropractic first. They are independent, well-established healthcare professions. I would say the aim of both of these professionals would be to reduce pain, restore movement, improve function. But the ways in which this is done is slightly different or quite different. Let me talk a little bit about physiotherapy. So a physiotherapist typically would undergo a minimum of 4.5 years of training, for a basic undergraduate degree. And then depending upon the specialty and super specialty, another 3 to 4 years. So that takes a lot of training to understand a human body, anatomy, physiology, biomechanics, movement science, recovery science. So we bring all of this knowledge into our, clinical setup. and we assess a patient very, very thoroughly. So all of this part becomes a part of our assessment, where we then try to figure out how is a human body reacting, to the internal and the external stimuli, which is causing that kind of a problem that the patient is facing. Further to that, then we'd set up our goals along with the patient. Okay, what does the patient want? He wants to improve his pain, range. He wants to participate in a particular sport, maybe. So those form our goals. And then we use the various tools, we call it as tools in our toolkit, to help achieve those goals. Now, what are these tools? Very typically, these tools would be, a combination of soft tissue release techniques or myofascial release techniques. It could be joint mobilizations and manipulations. There's a lot of exercise therapy involved. And in exercise therapy, then we include clinical Pilates or Pilates and yoga therapy. Then there is also electrotherapy wherever it is required. And a huge number of other, techniques and modalities have been developed in modern physiotherapy that can help us to achieve a patient's goal. When we talk about chiropractic, I would say they are more focused on the adjustments and alignments of the joints, the spinal and the peripheral, that help to restore the movement and the function.
Okay, and yoga and Pilates?
So yoga and Pilates would be forms of exercise. If you talk about yoga, a lot of times yoga, what people know is just the yogasanas or the physical part of yoga. But yoga is actually yog in Sanskrit. The original word is yuj or yog, which means a union. It's a union of the spirit, mind, and body, where you live a yogic lifestyle, where you are fully aware of what you're doing, what is happening inside your body, and how you bring things outside to the external world. That's yoga, and yogasanas, the physical yogasanas, that the exercise that we do, is just one part of that yogic lifestyle. So when we say yoga or yogic lifestyle, it's a combination of eating healthy food, doing regular exercise, non-violence, not thinking bad, not talking bad, so the right kind of behavior is what yoga is, so it's more of a lifestyle. But what commonly people know is the yogasanas, the physical aspect of yoga only. And Pilates is a form of exercise, again, a very, very popular form of exercise. It has been very successfully accommodated in various exercise regimes. It has been modified, in various ways to suit different populations. And we still use Pilates as a very successful form of exercise regime to recover, to help recover our patients, to build up their strength, to build up their body, and carry on with their journey of whatever they want to do.
Can bad posture actually affect your long-term health?
Oh, yes. So, yes, bad posture can have, huge effect long-term, and it just worsens over time if you don't correct it on time, See, your body is meant to carry itself in a particular manner. Your spine, if you have seen this human spine, it's an S-shape curved. That S shape has a reason. It's to load the spine optimally. And if that spine is in a proper curve, then the rest of the joints, which is the head, neck, shoulders, the ankles, hips, they are also aligned. And that gives you an optimal loading. Okay, now what happens when somebody is sitting for a long time with, forward head or rounded shoulders? That S shape or that natural curve of the spine is lost. And that leads to a lot of shearing forces, a lot of improper loading on the spine that can lead to stretching of the muscles, that can lead to overloading of the muscles also. And eventually these effects get accumulated, and that leads to, symptoms that the patients experience like headaches, back pain, neck pain. And you'd be surprised if I say they also cause things like, symptoms like breathing difficulties. They can also lead to digestion issues. They can also cause gut problems. They can also affect your mood. They can also affect your mental, physical well-being. So yes, long-term effects of bad posture, even short-term, not just long-term, of bad posture are quite intense. So the earlier we correct it, the earlier we are aware of it, the better for us.
You're making me feel very conscious right now. But thanks for that, Sujata. Is cracking joints harmful?
What we physios do, the cracking, or we call it as manipulation, joint manipulation, is the medical kind of cracking. We are trained to manipulate the joints in a particular manner, So we align the body, or we choose the patients also who are good candidates for cracking, and we align the body in such a manner that is medically accepted or medically safe. I would highly advise people not to go to hairdressers and salons and get their necks cracked, because those people are not trained to do these kind of things, and that can actually turn life-threatening.
Sometimes when people have stiff neck,
Yeah.
they ask somebody to
Yes.
assist or manipulate the joints.
Yeah.
So that is something that you
No,
don't.
no. It has to be done by a trained professional. And if you, while moving and stretching, sometimes your body automatically, gives that pop sound. So that is fine, as long as there's no pain associated after that also. But otherwise, from a untrained professional, it's not recommended at all.
So, what are the common lifestyle-related problems you see, and are desk jobs becoming more harmful than physically demanding jobs?
If I might say, we have progressed technologically, but we have regressed in our mindfulness. So it all boils down to how mindful or how aware are you of your own body. Posture. I mean, these aches and pains that come because of bad posture are absolutely an avoidable issue. I keep saying that over and over again to all my patients who come to me. I mean, this is a very, very common issue that I see in my clinics. So it's a very avoidable issue. But as long as you're mindful and you're aware of the way you carry yourself, it can be sorted out. So yes, to answer your question, it probably is getting worse with time, because of the lifestyle demands, the mobility in general. If you see, even for youngsters, long sitting hours in front of the desk, in front of the screens, everything is on the screens now, when they sit, they are not aware of the way they are sitting. The forward heads are forward, shoulders are stooped forward, backs are hunched. Then carrying of heavy backpacks, the way they carry their backpacks. Even while sitting, reading, watching TV on the sofa, there's a lot of lounging. And, even as a mother, as a physio mother, I find myself telling my children again and again, like 100 times a day, please, correct your posture. So it all boils down to the mindfulness, I think. And if that little part is taken care of, where people get more aware of the way they sit and carry themselves, things should get much more easier. Again, movement is, has been reduced. Overall movement has reduced. Earlier, the people would move around, they would walk around, they would do their activities which required a lot of moving around. That has also reduced quite a bit. So that awareness, if they bring, and a certain lifestyle changes, that would usually take care of this problem.
Also, another thing is holding the phone and constantly looking. That is also bad posture.
Yes, neck. That is a big contributor to neck pain, back pain, headaches, and a myriad of other problems that can lead to, these issues.
What are the biggest misconception of physiotherapy that you notice?
A lot of them, actually. So
You can list them out then.
yes. So one of the biggest misconceptions about physiotherapy would be, that physiotherapy is mainly just about, doing some exercises, or going to a physio clinic, seeing some exercise and coming back, or it's massage therapy, or it's more of machine therapy. But no. Physiotherapy is a much more active kind of an intervention, which requires an equally active participation from our patients. So our job as physios is to educate our patients so that they are in charge. We empower our patients to take charge of their health and, get better. So that's one thing. Second thing is, physiotherapy is only useful after injury. So to recover after injury, which is not true. Physiotherapy now is useful, or it has a scope in all walks of your life, right from the, right before a baby is born, when the baby is still in the mother's womb. For pregnant ladies also, as soon as the baby is born out, if required in the NICUs, in the ICUs, there is scope for physiotherapy also in the, in the early childhood days of a child with developmental delays. Then, of course, we have got, the regular neck problems, back problems for physiotherapy. We have got women's health physiotherapy, which is a specialized field in physiotherapy. Then we have got physiotherapy for oncology, for burns. So there's a huge scope for physiotherapy, neurophysiotherapy, pediatric physiotherapy. So there are many, many subspecialties of physiotherapy. And I can't really think of anything where physiotherapy cannot be, useful to better the health of a patient. And then we as physios, we always work with a team. It's called as a multidisciplinary approach, where we work with a team of doctors, physicians, nurses, everybody, to create a nice plan for a patient, which is going to, work towards the holistic well-being of our patients as well.
Is it only for patients, or do you say clients? Because even sports athletes, they also need physiotherapy.
Absolutely.
And they're not really injured. Like you said, that is one misconception.
Yes.
So what if someone's not a patient but wants to improve posture, wants to improve longevity?
Yes. Thank you for bringing this up. This is absolutely, part and parcel of what physiotherapists do. So preventive medicine is a huge thing now, So more than recovery, I would say physios spend a lot of time educating their patients. So when it comes to, proper alignment of the back of the spine, how to carry yourself in your day-to-day life. So now physios also have a scope in work industries and workplaces where they can actually visit those workplaces. They can assess the workplaces, how the person is sitting, how the person is carrying himself in his work environment. And then he can give the guidance accordingly, So what is a potential danger in that work environment is what a physio would assess, and he would give the guidelines accordingly. So yes, there is a huge role of physiotherapists in preventive medicine. And like you said, a healthy, generally healthy person, if he wants to improve on his fitness, yes, you can approach a physiotherapist to know the right way of exercising for that particular person. And like I said earlier, we set our goals based upon the patient's goals. So if he wants to reach from point A to point B, what are the different ways in which we can help him reach that place? That is how we plan our treatment programs as well.
So when it comes to a workplace or a corporate office, you said that what physios generally do is make everybody aware of what they can do as individuals. So if it's like a corporate, do you do any kind of corporate package? Because I know, yes, physio is an individual plan, but is there something that you can do for the masses as well?
Yes. So in general, yes, there could be a session where, when usually I go to the corporate setup, there's a session where I set up a desk, a makeshift desk, and we have a model over there who is sitting at the desk, to just go through the points where we need to see what could be changed, So that's like a presentation that happens. And then I also do something called as, fitness at work sessions. So while you're at your work desk, how could you move? How could you stretch? What are the parts of your body that require the maximum amount of mobility? So all of those little, tips and tricks that can be covered in a corporate session, in a typical corporate session.
How long or how continuously should one sit before making a movement? So what is the amount of time that they can sit continuously? And what are the daily habits that silently destroy our joints?
So when it comes to sitting, there isn't a magic number that you need to sit for so many minutes and get up. But in general, I would advise everybody to, get up and about after every 30 minutes of sitting, or standing. Change of posture is what is required. It could be sitting, it could be standing also, So a lot of people think that nowadays those stand desks are available. Standing is the best way to work. But no, if you are standing all day long, that's going to load your spine in the wrong manner again, So that change of posture is more important. So there wouldn't be a magic number, but in general, I would say 30 minutes to a max 45 minutes is a sufficient time to be in one posture. And after that, you need to change. You need to take that break of at least 30 seconds to 60 seconds. So go out for a cup of, coffee, go out for a glass of water, or, if you have to ask something to a colleague, walk to that place, rather than texting the colleague. So those are little things that you can actually incorporate within your workspace to just bring about mobility. The more you move, because the human body is meant to move, the more you move, the better for your body. The stresses are reduced accordingly.
And the silent habits that are slowly damaging our joints?
Again, the silent habits is, yes, the bad posture, ignoring the signs and signals that the body is giving, So the first signal of, something is happening inside the body can generally start as a little niggle, So it's a nagging pain in my neck, or it's a nagging pain. And a lot of people tend to ignore that, So that could accumulate, and, that could be a silent killer, if you like. And yes, strength training. A lot of people, very much underrate the importance of strength training. Especially as you grow older, you need to maintain that muscle mass so that your body can take up load. Even day-to-day loading later on becomes difficult. So maintaining whatever muscle you have got and trying to build it up is at most crucial.
Do you know, Sujata, many people have this misconception of strength training. They think that they need to lift really heavy weights.
Yes,
Because, no, it's strength. All my strength I need to put into this. But they
correct.
don't know it's just resistance training is what they need to
Just
focus on.
little resistance training. Body weight is the best strength training, form of strength training, and that's a very safe way of strength training as well. Use of little props like lightweight therabands is a good form of strength training. So all of these are a part of strength training. You don't need to have like a gym setup and lift up heavy weights or machinery to do the strength training.
So if you had these 3 things that you would advise anyone, especially our audience, that could guide them to a fitter lifestyle, what would they be?
I would say it would all start with discipline. So if you compare your lifestyle to what probably your parents were living or probably your grandparents were living, you will definitely start to notice some difference. And the first difference I notice is in the food habits and the sleep habits usually. So that's one of the first few questions that even I ask my patients, my clients. How do you sleep? Do you sleep well? And that becomes my personal goal to let them sleep well, because their sleep has been hampered either because of bad digestion, bad food habits, because of some aches and pains that they might be experiencing in the body. So that good sleep is very important. So that's one thing that need to be aware. And if they are not getting a good sleep, they probably can reach out to a professional to find out, what could be the cause of, them not getting a good sleep. And mind you, medicine is not going to help you sleep better. So the further you run away from medicines, as a physiotherapist, I would always say that, the better for you. Of course, medicines have their role where they have to be taken, but do not run to medicines for that little pain. You take a pain-killing medicine. If you don't get sleep, yes, you take sleep medicine. That doesn't work. So the body can heal itself. So just learn to notice your body. If there is pain that doesn't settle, if there's stiffness that doesn't go, if there's tingling, numbness, loss of sensation, if there is a sudden change in the weight maybe or weight of the body, if there's sudden change in the sleep patterns, all of these are signs. If the sudden change in the way you breathe or you feel about your surroundings, sometimes patients can get over anxious, so that is also a warning sign. And if you are not able to get over that by yourself, within a day or two, then that's a time I think you should seek professional help, at least to know what's happening and what could be causing it. So when you try to cut the root of a problem, it doesn't grow up into a big problem.
My next question is, what is kinesiotaping and how does it support movement?
Yeah. So kinesiotaping basically is one of the tools in our toolkit, like I was talking earlier. So it's one of the tools that physiotherapists can use. It's an elastic taping method. It was founded by Dr. Kenzo Kase. It was nearly 40 years back. And this was designed in order to help the body heal itself, So the body, like I said, the body has an amazing healing capacity. And if we give that little bit of a support, external support or external push from our end to help the body heal itself, that's what the kinesiotaping is going to do. So when we do the kinesiotaping, there's an assessment involved in that also to understand which structures in the body, which tissues in the body need that extra support, and we apply the tape accordingly. So your kinesiotape can correct the imbalance between these muscles. If there is an inflammation that we see somewhere, we can use kinesiotaping methods to help reduce this inflammation. We can we can use kinesiotaping to help correct, malaligned joints. So this forms as a supportive treatment. It is done in conjunction with all the other things that we might do in a typical physiotherapy session.
And this again, anyone from the corporate also can use, like people who go to the offices, or this is only for injury?
No. It can be used as a preventative method also. So kinesiotape is a preventative, curative and rehabilitative tool.
Right.
So wherever we find that something is, out of order, we can assess accordingly and apply a kinesiotape to help with that problem.
Okay, and tell me more about dry needling. What exactly is that?
Yeah, so dry needling is basically the use of dry needles. So the needles that we use are acupuncture needles, but the science behind acupuncture and dry needling is completely different. So dry needling, if I may say, is the Western form of acupuncture, and acupuncture is traditional Chinese medicines where they try to correct the flow of qi or energy throughout the body, and that helps reduce the pain and restore movement. While in dry needling, we are very focused and localized to something called as trigger points. So sometimes you might feel those sore spots within the muscles when you rub a painful spot. That spot is very sore, and that can cause a lot of pain, and that could be the source of stiffness also. So when you try to move that particular part into its full range, it wouldn't move, completely, or it might cause pain. So those are the trigger points that we're talking about, and dry needling helps to reduce those trigger points. So it is one of the ways which we use to deal with myofascial issues.
So, what inspired you to start Teach Me?
So,
And what is Teach Me all about?
yeah, so Teach Me basically is an education platform for healthcare professionals, where I am trying to, bridge the gap between what practices we follow in our parts of the world to what is followed in the rest of the world.
What qualities make a great physiotherapist?
I would say a physiotherapist needs to have a lot of patience. So we spend like a good 45 minutes, minimum with any patient, So in that we become their healers, we become their counselors. We need to listen. So we need to be really, really good listeners, and when they are talking to us about, what's been happening with them, we have to pick up those little things that are important for us to set our goals that will help with their treatment. So it's not just about hands-on skills. Yes, hands-on skills are very, very crucial because we treat with our hands. But good listening skills, being empathetic, being a good communicator is also very essential, because the treatment starts the moment the patient starts to enter your, through your door. The way you greet a patient, how friendly you can be with your patient. So our treatment starts from there.
Okay, so what advice would you give a student entering this field?
I would say it's a great field to be. It's an upcoming field. There's huge scope for physiotherapy all over the world, and it's just getting better. It's just developing. I mean, sports physiotherapy was not as popular just a few years back, 7-8 years back. But now you can see sports physiotherapists everywhere. I mean, the importance of sports physiotherapy is too much in the performance of a player. So it's just getting better and better. So I would say if you are somebody who likes to make a difference in others' lives, go for it. It's something that should feel rewarding to you even before you start doing it. So talking to patients, talking to other people, like that feeling of making people feel better, then that's the field for you. I would say it's a great field. I've been a physio for the last 25 years now, and there's not a single day I've regretted being a physio. So it's a very, very rewarding field, I would say.
Why do I choose physiotherapy when I can do an Ayurvedic massage? Is there any benefit in that?
Okay, so I would say if a physiotherapist is somebody who generally spends a lot of time talking to you, trying to understand you as a person and what's happening inside your body, which has caused these problems. So in our typical treatment, sessions also, we do a lot of counseling and empowering you with the knowledge to know what's happening and what's causing this problem that you're facing, and how can you get over it by yourself. So these self-help measures are something that we focus a lot on. And once you are aware of what's happening inside your body that's giving you this trouble, you automatically, take early measures to correct it. You then, fall, sick less often, I would say. You're able to, correct yourself. If at all you get some, like a small headache, then you immediately know, okay, fine, my physio said maybe this is the posture that I need to sit in, and you correct yourself automatically. So you reach that state of auto-correction, and that's a big part of what we do in a typical session also. So to help you improve your general health, to help you improve your productivity, to improve with your mood, to improve with your general well-being and your quality of life, So when we see clients walking in with headaches, having painkillers day in and day out, getting angry at home because of that pain that they have, that is a bad quality of life to live. But the moment they understand what's happening inside, which is causing that kind of a headache, and they try to work on it, is when they, start to see the real difference and they can change their lives for themselves. So that is a huge role that I think a physio would play, because not just a healer, but also a counselor and an educator, where we teach you how to take charge of your own body to live a better and healthy life.
So is it right to say that is going to keep the onus or the agency with that individual rather
Absolutely.
than
You
only
got
the
it right now.
therapist.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. So it is a very active participation from the patient's part that leads to the success of a physiotherapy session or a physiotherapy treatment, I would say.
Do you know, I had a conversation with a friend of mine recently, and he said that a 40-year-old or a 50-year-old man in today's times is nothing like what they used to be before. And that is because everybody is highly invested in themselves, in their health. So I think that that's where you're going. So with a physio is more like a conversation. It's a teamwork, wherein when it's a massage, you're just a participant.
Yes, a participant, correct. Yes, that's right. So, I mean, when it comes to self-awareness, that's where a physio steps in usually. So our job is to educate so that the patients are able to take charge of their own health. And then we have these various, innumerable ways in which we can help the patients to get back to their health by themselves.
And how often are the intervals that we need to visit or have these physio visits?
So it is very, very dependent upon the case that is, the case that we see. So there isn't
I'm
like a
specifically talking about preventative.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, I mean, if there's something which doesn't need an intervention, then probably one session is sufficient.
One session for
one consultation with a physio to understand what could be corrected, what could be done, what are the do's and don'ts that could be done to prevent any kind of future problems, what are the kind of exercise that can be done to keep yourself healthy and fit. So if there is no underlying issue, active pain that needs to be treated per se, I think one consultation, a good one, which covers everything, including lifestyle, including work arrangements, including, how to stay active at work, those little tips and tricks, that should be sufficient. Underlying issue like pain, the patients come to us saying that we have pain, then that requires treatment. Then the whole dynamics changes of the way we would deal with a client or a patient. So we need to understand where that pain is coming from, why that pain is coming, and once we get rid of that pain, that's when we start the educating part again, so that the pain doesn't recur.
Rapid fire round. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. For healing, ice or heat?
Okay, both have their roles. Ice would be generally for irritation, swelling, and heat would be generally for stiffness.
Best sleeping position?
I would say any sleeping position that doesn't wake you up from the sleep in the middle of the night is a good sleeping position, where your body is well supported and all the natural curves of your spine are well maintained.
Barefoot walking?
Barefoot walking, yes, if it is not overdone, it is great, to build up your arches, to develop the foot musculature. It is a good form of exercise as well.
Foam rollers?
Overrated, I would say. Yes. I mean, yes, they have their role, but it does require a good amount of control from the patient's side in order to use it properly the way it's intended to use.
For exercise or the gym, no pain, no gain. Is it is it the motto you stand by?
No, I don't stand by that motto. I mean, I would say pain is an indication from the body that something is happening inside the body. So you must respect that pain, So if the body is signaling this is causing me more pain, then I need to understand where that pain is coming from, what is the cause of the pain, So I would say no effort, no gain.
Okay, so one stretch that you would recommend everybody?
I would say general body mobility is great, but if I were to choose, then I would rather go for something to do with the thoracic spine, the upper back, the thoracic extension and the hip flexor stretch because of the way we are used to carrying ourselves in our day-to-day lives nowadays, sitting, less mobility. So those two stretches, if I can take that liberty, thoracic extension and the hip flexor stretches.
Most underrated healthy habit?
Sleep. If you have a good sleep, I think it takes care of everything else.
Okay. And last question, Sujata. What does a truly healthy body mean to you?
I would say when there's a good, communication, camaraderie between the emotional, mental, and spiritual health of an individual. So if you're emotionally not well, you're emotionally you're depressed or feeling low, you are not going to feel like working out. You don't work out, you end up with a stiff body. You end up with a stiff body that's going to add up to that emotional stress. Oh my God, now I'm getting headache, now I'm getting pain. And that also works on your spirit, the emotional, the mental well-being, So all of that is interrelated. So wherever you face a problem, if you kind of address the problem at its root level, you will find that harmony between these three aspects of your living. So the mental, physical, spiritual, all of these three have to have a good union, and that is what yoga is also all about.